So I'm so excited to be able to talk with you guys today. It has been a long time coming. We've been wanting to do this, to talk with our staff, with technicians, with employers, with educators. And we really want to do this because you all have a lot of great things to say. And we feel like we could be a nice conduit for you all to tell your stories. So first of all, I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Jill Spivey. I am PTCB's Director of Marketing and Communications. Zach and Verdina, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Verdina Frazier. I am the Partnership Development Coordinator. I've been a pharmacy technician for 19 years, and I've been with PTCB for 18 months.
I'm Zachary Green. I've been PTCB Certified Pharmacy Technician for 12 years. I'm currently the Associate Director of Partnership Development here at PTCB, and I've been with PTCB 7 years today.
I love that. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
I'm proud to say that I hired Zach, so I'm going to give myself a pat on the back for that one. So this conversation with two of our pharmacy technicians on staff will help to feature basically, our staff and the wonderful people who work here. So I want to start out because you guys both have different paths that you've taken to become pharmacy technicians and then to be at PTCB. So talk about your experience as pharmacy technicians and then if it leads into how you got to PTCB, let's go there. How about Zach, do you want to start?
Sure, yeah. So I was working as a pharmacy technician while I was going to school for public policy, and I really liked working as a pharmacy technician. I was working in a hospital setting, but I also really liked public policy, and I liked, I kind of saw myself getting out of the pharmacy profession, honestly. And I didn't originally start in a hospital. I started in mail order, which is an interesting setting for pharmacy technicians. So moving to the hospital where pharmacists and nurses and other healthcare staff depend on pharmacy technician, I really saw an opportunity for pharmacy technician, the profession, like a real career of being a pharmacy technician. But I was going to school for public policy and thinking about, how can these worlds that I enjoy so much be combined? And while PTCB doesn't really do any public policy or, produce white papers or anything like that, we work with a lot of people who do. So especially our board of governors and many stakeholders all around the United States. So it's really cool to be a part of that process on the PTCB side, but having the professional experience of being a pharmacy technician, especially from the hospital and mail order settings.
Yeah, I think that your background kind of, in some ways, led you here. And that, it's 7 years later. That's pretty amazing. And I think you were one of the first pharmacy technicians we had on staff in a while, that we had hired new in a while. So it was great to have your perspective come on board, and we turned to you so much to ask you, how do you do this? And is this right? And is this language that we're using here accurate? And so yeah, your expertise as a technician was immediately recognized for sure. Verdina, you want to talk a little bit about your background?
Sure. I started out working in retail pharmacy as a pharmacy tech associate. And then I gradually moved up to inventory specialist. And then finally a lead tech. So that was pretty much my career in the pharmacy as far as working retail. And again, like Zach, I was trying to find my way out of pharmacy tech. I moved into HR, which I worked in the training department with the organization I was with. And I was again, training new hires for pharmacy classes to work in our pharmacies. So it led me back to pharmacy again. And then I moved to teaching pharmacy technicians at a school and for non-traditional students. So I did that. And while my students were testing and I was prepping for our next class, the goal was to have them just kind of review PTCB website. And in the midst of preparing for class, I saw that there was a job opening.
I had no idea that's how you found. That's so funny.
Yes.
Making your students do the work. I love it.
Yes. So while they were testing, I was submitting my resume. So that's how I ended up here with PTCB. Best decision I've made.
Yeah, and I think you were the second technician educator that we hired as well.
Nice.
Yeah, and so in the same way that we turned to Zach and still turn to Zach, we turn to you and ask you lots of questions about educating technicians and how all that process works. And it helps us, right? It helps us to figure out our programs. Yeah. Zach, how did you get to PTCB? I don't even remember. It's been so long. I don't remember. Did you see an ad somewhere? Is that how you got hired?
No, actually, it's kind of funny. So as a pharmacy technician working in the IV room, you train the pharmacy students, like the interns, while they're working at the hospital. So I was working a midnight shift one time, training an intern, and it was coming up on graduation from school, and I was getting very discouraged that I had put in like 65 applications in my home state, in neighboring states, because I envisioned going to some type of, either like a professional organization or a state agency or something like that. And the intern was like, well, you're certified through PTCB like I am. Why don't you just see if they're ever hiring? And that night, on a night shift, while she made the IVs I trained her to make, I sat there and filled out I submitted my resume, really, and then filled out my application later.
That's so crazy. That's so crazy. And I remember when we were interviewing you, and I think I did a phone interview, and we were really hesitant to even interview you, not because we didn't think you were qualified, but because you lived in another state. And so, when you are looking to hire someone, it's really important that that person is willing to, and makes it clear that they are willing to move to where you are. So I remember that was like the biggest hurdle, was like, okay, how do we make it past this? But you were like, yeah, I'm all in. I'm coming to Washington, D.C. So
yep.
It worked out well.
Yes, it really did. I will never forget that trip to Washington, D.C. It was 4th of July weekend, and I learned very quickly that what D.C. traffic was going to look like.
I'll tell you, if there's one thing about this pandemic that is the biggest silver lining, is not having to deal with that commute. I mean, we're really lucky that we've been able to work remotely. And we know that many of the pharmacy technicians who are certified through PTCB don't have that luxury. But that in the DC area, not to have a commute, yes. So you all both knew PTCB before you got here, right? You knew it as pharmacy technicians, you knew it as a tech educator. What was the biggest difference between what you thought about PTCB before you were hired, and then now, right, Verdina, 18 months later, Zach, 7 years later, what's changed?
I will say, before I started working at PTCB, but while I was doing research for my interview and, even seeing if I'd be interested in applying for the job, I learned very quickly that PTCB was not affiliated with a state board of pharmacy. The title Pharmacy Technician Certification Board kind of implies, some governmental or regulatory body, but I learned very quickly that it's a nonprofit organization. And I learned also very quickly upon starting in my position that it's PTCB is dedicated to the pharmacy profession, both in its mission and the passionate work of everybody I work with. So 7 years later, that's still, I'm very proud to work for an organization that is, full of passionate people dedicated to the pharmacy profession.
Yeah. How about Verdina? I'm curious, because you've been here, it's a little bit shorter period of time. So, but you've seen plenty in those 18 months. So what's different for you?
For me, so coming out of retail, community pharmacy, you're told to do something and pretty much you get it done, as far as, get your training done, get your certification done. So for me, I just thought, honestly, it was just another step I needed to do in order to become lead tech or move throughout the community pharmacy setup. But now that I'm here, like Zach, I totally agree that PTCB definitely cares about pharmacy technicians' careers, their advancement. It makes me proud that an organization works so hard to see pharmacy technicians advance, because you don't hear a lot about that in community pharmacy. So now that I'm here, it's feedback that I give my friends, my coworkers, or ex-coworkers, things that they need to do, and that there's more opportunity out there, and the reasons they should get certified. So it has changed my sight on PTCB, honestly, and I'm very proud to be here and glad to know I did the right thing by getting certified at that time. So.
Yeah. I think for some people, certification is mandated, right? Like their state requires it or their employer requires it.
Yes.
And some people do it because they want to and they think it's beneficial to do it. Mm-hmm. So what would you say to those people who are debating whether or not to get certified? Like, why should they get certified? What benefits have you seen, or have you seen for other technicians who have been certified? Verdina, you want to start?
Sure. I definitely encourage individuals to go for the certification. There's a career path out there that a lot of us do not know about. And just being with PTCB, I see those career paths, whether it's with PTCB, whether it's within an organization. But if looking at my career, I have been able to train other individuals, which I wouldn't have that opportunity without my certification. So I encourage, it's not a have to, it's a career boost. So I definitely encourage anyone to start out certification. Get as much certification training as possible to help advance your career.
Zach, you agree?
Yeah, I do. I became certified because it was required by my employer. But I would say, even though it's a requirement to some, I would look at it kind of like what Verdina was saying, as a prideful career move. Your colleagues trust you more, pharmacists trust you more, and then those looking to enter the field look up to you. As Verdina was mentioning, she started as a pharmacy technician associate, I think, right? Is that the term you used? And oftentimes around the country, we've discovered that doesn't necessarily require certification, but to move up to various other levels of being a technician, that certification is required. But I think it should be looked at as something that you should be proud in and truly want to achieve first.
So, CPhT, PTCB has offered that for many years, and only in recent years have we added new credentials with the hope of helping to create career ladders and therefore advance technicians. So I wonder which of our credentials is most exciting to you and why? And I'm curious if you guys have the same one or different ones.
For me, it's billing and reimbursement. That is the most, when I would train technicians, that would be the last thing I would train technicians on, because it can be the most difficult part of our jobs. So That's the one I'm really interested in.
And Zach, do you agree? Do you have a different thing that excites you?
I do. Although I am excited about billing and reimbursement, but working in a hospital, like hospital technicians don't really deal with that very frequently. And then prior to that, working in a mail order facility that was owned by the insurance company, we never dealt with billing and reimbursement. I think what I was most interested in, even though it's been around for a few years now, is CSPT, the Compounded Sterile Preparation Technician certification. Primarily because I liked working in the IV room the most. That was primarily where I worked in the pharmacy, in the hospital. However, as I was getting my job here at PTCB, the hospital was just beginning to venture into using pharmacy technicians for obtaining medication history. And interacting with patients isn't something that I had ever done as a pharmacy technician because I worked in a hospital and then mail order. So seeing technicians being used for those roles and being able to interact with patients on the community side and the hospital side, and then having this credential at a relatively new point of a pharmacy technician role and being in existence, I think could play a potentially large factor in the career of pharmacy technicians.
And you work specifically, I mean, you work with employers, right? That's your job, is to basically talk with them and try and, work through partnerships and relationships and that sort of stuff. What are you hearing from employers about the certificate programs, the additional credential programs?
Yeah, I will say our number one question from employers, in order to serve as a resource for the employers, is, do you have any examples of career ladders, or how can we show appreciation or recognize our technicians for these advanced roles that they're doing? And of course, our answer is talking about the CPhT advanced credential by earning these assessment-based certificates in medication history and the various others that we've launched. The employers are very excited about it, and the technicians are excited about it too. Like, they've been hearing about it and then asking their employers, which then the employers turn to us and ask. So it's really exciting to see that employers are willing to, everybody has always said that pharmacy technicians are worth their weight in gold. And, that's just been a cliche in the pharmacy world for a very long time. And I feel that these advanced credentials are something that it's a way for employers to recognize technicians.
So, more credentials, more advancement. What we're hearing from technicians, and I think you all know very well, is that their salaries in many cases are not commensurate with the responsibilities that they're being asked to do. So as they get more responsibilities, as they get more credentials, they aren't necessarily getting more salary. Are there cases where of employers who are recognizing credentials with financial reward?
Yeah, we do know in some employer cases, if you earn the initial CPhT certification in places where it's not required, that sometimes, the technicians will earn an incentive, pay incentive. Talking a little bit more about career ladders and back to CSPT, we've also seen employers incorporate the CSPT into a job ladder, or a career ladder, excuse me. And when a technician, for example, wants to apply to be a lead technician for overseeing the IV room, that CSPT may be a requirement for that position, and that also comes with a salary increase.
Our hope is that technicians will be rewarded and acknowledged for these new credentials, and we are seeing evidence of that happening. So that's exciting. And as these new credentials have a longer lifespan. I imagine in the same way with the CPhT credential, over time, more and more employers will recognize, the value of those credentials.
And I completely agree with that. I think if you show pride in your career, I think then everything else comes after that. And if your current employer isn't willing to, reimburse or pay for or give you a pay increase or something, then continue to work and, still be proud as a technician, because something will come along that where they do recognize you. If it's that employer changes their viewpoint or another opportunity arises, it's, back to my initial point, it comes back to being proud of that credential and the initial credential of CPhT, but anything after that as well.
Yeah.
I agree with Zach. And I'm an example of that. My pay wasn't great, but I showed initiative. I worked hard. I worked with a lot of pharmacists, and I was recommended for that HR position. So amongst the recommendation and other jobs within the organization I had applied for and interviewed for, the HR representative thought I was a perfect fit for that job. So I did the hard work. The pay wasn't great, but it paid off in the end. So I encourage technicians, work hard and use it as a stepping stone. That's my advice to all technicians.
So any advice for those seeking certification? Like if someone says, I'm going to get certified, right? What would you say to them? Like what would be the most helpful thing for them to know in the process?
Work in the pharmacy, get as much practice as possible, hands-on. That's the most important thing. You can study, that's another good practice, but definitely working in the pharmacy, that hands-on experience is really going to help you with that exam.
Yeah, for technicians seeking certification, I would say start off by looking into attending a formal pharmacy technician training program that's recognized by PTCB. And for anybody watching, those are available on our website. And then also practical experience. So let's say if you're in a place that doesn't require certification, but you've been working as a pharmacy technician for a while, and you want to earn that certification, you probably have the work experience, that will lead to eligibility to sit for the exam for sure.
The hard work of technicians, we know technicians work very hard. They are often on their feet for many hours a day. And they're dealing with all sorts of demands from patients, from their employers, from, everyone has their family and friends that they have to take care of as well. So I wonder, during this pandemic, we've had the opportunity to collect stories for our #CPHT Strong page. And I wonder if you all have heard from any of your, I know you still have many technician friends. Have you heard from your technician friends during the pandemic? What are they experiencing?
Some of them are a little exhausted. They've been working extra hours. They're still appreciative of having a job or being able to go to work. It's still a little stressful, but their organization has made accommodations, masks, gloves. So they're working through it. It's just a normal day at work for them.
Yeah, the technicians I still keep in touch with, they say the same thing.
Yeah. It's interesting that this is becoming our new normal, right? And just when you thought things in the pharmacy couldn't get busier or crazier, it's like, then they do. But yeah, Verdina, to your point, it's another day in pharmacy.
Yep.
All right, we're gonna have a little fun because I think we've covered a lot of the serious stuff. So, we're gonna have a little fun, and we're going to ask some questions that may be in sort of a rapid fire. So I'm gonna focus on like one person at a time for these questions, and then I'll go to the next person. So who wants to go first?
Zach.
Sure. I'll go first. That's
All right.
fair.
So Zach, I know you're a car guy. PTCB were a car, what kind of car would it be?
Yeah, I am a car guy, and I could analyze this for a long time, but I'm gonna go with Volvo. Safety being a priority, trusted, steeped in tradition, and still innovative.
I like it. If PTCB were an animal, what kind of animal would it be and why?
Ooh. I'm gonna say some type of waterfowl, like a duck or a goose or a swan, because on the surface, just looks like they're going about the business, but underneath the surface, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, you're good at these. Yeah, that's a good answer. Good answer. So as a technician, when you were doing IVs every day, what kind of footwear did you wear?
Running shoes, definitely.
Yeah.
Very light running shoes.
What was your favorite snack when you were working as a technician?
Starburst.
A little sugar high.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah. Not in the IV room though.
You weren't working at PTCB. Where do you think you would be? And the second part of that question is, where would you want to be?
Is this pharmacy related or outside of pharmacy?
It can be anything. Yeah, it can be anything.
All right. In the pharmacy world, I would be working in a hospital, I think. Yeah, definitely working as a pharmacy technician. But outside of pharmacy, I'd be the captain of a yacht for sure.
That's awesome. I'm going to get you a captain's hat just because of that.
Okay.
All right, Verdina, it's your turn. So I'm going to ask the same questions that I asked Zach.
Okay.
If you have the same answer, cool. But, you know, if PTCB were a car, what kind of car would it be?
I would say Mercedes. Yes. I can't describe it.
I mean, a Mercedes speaks for itself, doesn't
Yes,
it? Really?
True.
All right, so if PTCB were an animal, what kind of animal would it be?
I would say a tiger, maybe. Strong, dependable, trustworthy. Ralph, I don't know.
All right, so when you worked as a pharmacy technician in the retail space, what was your footwear of choice?
It would be sneakers.
All right, so sneakers are the dependable choice.
Yes.
I like it. Did you guys ever try those clogs? Because I've heard good things about the clogs, but they never felt right on me.
They didn't have them back then, I don't think, or it wasn't very popular back then. I'm telling my age.
The nurses always wear them, so I trust them that they're probably effective and comfortable.
Yeah.
Verdina, what was your favorite snack while you were working as a technician? And was it different than the snacks you eat now?
Yeah, well, somewhat. A liter Mountain Dew and a bag of Cheetos.
Awesome. So I see like sugar is a running theme here.
Yes. Oh, and I would keep M&Ms in my pocket as well. So I would work long shifts.
I mean, you do what you got to do.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Two parts of this question. If you were not working at PTCB, where do you think you would be working? And then kind of like, where would you want to be working?
So if I was not with PTCB, I would still be training my students. I love that, teaching, training. So I would still be there. That was one of my enjoyments. What would I rather be? On a beach somewhere. No kids.
That's not a job, Verdina. That's not a job.
So retired.
Retired.
Retired on a beach.
Yes.
Totally fair. Totally fair. Well, thanks you guys for joining me today. And, I guess I'll see you around at the staff meetings, but this was really fun.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.